logo thing. So that'll be great. So for those of you who've been here before, we know who we're working with. And for those of you who are new on this call, I wanted to explain who Stephen Thomas is. If you've been living under a rock and you don't know, he has started Reports on Housing in 2004. He is really just become such an integral part of the information that we all process, and I certainly use him all the time. He decided in 2004 to communicate with buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals who were experiencing in the trenches, tracking demand, inventory, distressed homes, and market data about at both the county and city levels. So he can dial down specifically. He's a California real estate broker with decades of real estate experience and a degree, believe it or not. Well, I guess for me, it would be, believe it or not, for him, it's obvious, in quantitative economics and decision sciences from the University of California, San Diego, my hometown, whoop, whoop. Reports on Housing, and he developed Reports on Housing, and is considered an expert in real estate housing trends. He's quoted in all kinds of newspapers, magazines, TV. He's on everywhere. I keep telling him I see him everywhere I go. So he's either following me and a stalker, or he's really well-rounded. Stephen, you are just always such a pleasure to have on because you have so much wonderful information. And so thank you for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me. I love North San Diego County Realtors. It's a lot of fun. I can't wait to meet everybody in person. We were just talking about that. So hopefully, fingers crossed, next year we can get in front of people rather than zooming around. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and begin this presentation because I have a lot to cover. San Diego County 2022 forecast and housing update. Here we go. So, of course, I want to start off with some fun photos. I do always. This is the autumn fun photos, and this is an MLS photo. This is the front of the house, but inside this house lurks something very creepy. And a ton of mannequins everywhere. Just check out.
They got the pumpkins going on, so it's timely. The decor.
Yeah, you know what the decor is, so that you don't look at the ceiling and everything else that needs to be done, like the kitchen fluorescent tube lights. There's a lot that needs to be done. Look at the
half a body under the counter. That's like,
yeah. I just noticed that. It's weird. With a bottle of some spray. I don't know. I don't understand.
Let's hope it's disinfectant.
Yes, this is, I heard this is new trend I have never seen before. Pallets on the ceiling. I'm going to say, no, thank you. I know where the creepy crawlies like to hang out, and it would definitely be up there.
Sprayed with. Oy.
Awful, isn't it? So Barbie turned 80, and apparently she lives on the beach. Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. Those colors are fantastic.
So when we have to go back to really, truly marketing a home longer than a day, we're going to have to get creative. And this is an agent that got creative, went down to their local Home Depot, bought a whole bunch of yard displays, which, by the way, if you go there right now, no more yard displays for Halloween. They have Christmas decorations now at your local Home Depot. But anyways, here's this. Isn't this fantastic? I mean, come on, stage it, have fun with it, and then the media will catch wind of it, and then it'll go viral. That's exactly what happened.
Stephen? This is all those mannequins after that house didn't
sell. Yeah.
This is what happened to them.
This is exactly what happens when you don't feed the mannequins. So this you're listening about 90 minutes after it goes live on the MLS. Yeah, even the dead can't wait to get in. Finally found a house in my price range. Funny, not funny. The 4 C's of real estate: coffee, clients, closings, and quine.
Or whiskey.
Or whiskey. Yeah, you're my soul sister. That's what I drink, and I like whiskey. When you get a full priced offer in this market, are you kidding me? That's insultingly low. Don't expect an immediate phone call return when you bring a full priced offer. You need to go above asking to get an immediate phone call after placing that offer. When the seller agrees to take on the repairs, right? You want to do it yourself? Ugh. Buying a house in 2021, $180,000.
Yeah, but it's got air conditioning.
Yeah, you stole my punchline.
Sorry. I'll
Oh, no big deal. So here's my introduction. I am brief. Quantitative Economics Decision Sciences major from UC San Diego, right there in La Jolla. Not a better place to go to school, that's for sure. 30 years in the business, Orange County native, Capitol Valley High School grad, 9 kids, avid runner. I brought the 6 on the right. My wife brought the 2 on the upper left. We had them all the time, so I adopted her. She adopted mine. We had bonus guy. He's in preschool now because he's quite the handful and was talking like a teenager, so we needed him to hang out with some younger kids. And he's a lot of fun. And we've been all over the press. And our company is Reports on Housing, your local real estate snapshot. It's really about driving home the power of data. We're going to need this more and more as the market evolves, which it will, especially coming up this year. And there's a lot of people that think certain things are going to happen, but I like to set the record straight by using data. Data is power. Every client, brother, sister, parents, sphere of influence, they all get their hands on data that they think is data. They scour the internet to find something that matches what they're thinking. You can find something on it, right? However, it's typically not good information. So if you bring all the information, that's what it's all about. There is power to bringing all the information, and that's what our report does. We don't focus on closed sales data. That's reflection of the past. We like to look out the windshield and talk about the available number of homes to show, as well as the demand, that's supply, the available number of homes, demand, the last 30 days of escrow activity. It's a little snapshot of escrow activity, 30 days worth. And we keep on looking at that over and over again. So it kind of gives us the gauge of what's going on over the last 30 days. That's what you're experiencing. So based upon supply and demand, we're able to get the speed of the market. That is market time. The lower the market time, the faster the market. And that's what we've been experiencing this entire year from day one. And our reports are used for listing presentation, for price reductions, for getting buyers off the fence, stop talking about, am I buying at a peak, and all that good stuff. Is there going to be a crash? And it's all about setting expectations so that you can close more transactions. Expectations, setting them properly, setting them, and is what it's all about. We have reports that dot all over Southern California. We're looking at other markets, Bay Area, Vegas, Phoenix are probably all next. Matter of fact, I now have Bay Area statistics that go back about 6 months. So that's our next area, and then it will be Vegas and Phoenix. Blazing beginning. So at the very start of this year, starting from day one of January, we had the hottest market that I have seen since 2004. It is, and it even beat 2004, but that's when I started recording information. So very, very hot market from day one. It beat 2013, which was the other hot market from day one. It was just even hotter. And then this year was all about bidding wars and setting expectations in this report to buyers and sellers. Some sellers overprice and then they don't get as many offers, and they're not taking advantage of the bidding war that everybody needs to take advantage of. They're getting a little bit ahead of their skis by pricing it too high. Waiting will be costly. We harp on the buyers because the buyers keep on talking about waiting, and this was done in April. And if they would have listened to me, they would have seen like a 1.5% appreciation every single month since then. So sitting back and waiting is not the answer. Crash coming, that's the big question. The answer is no. We'll get into that. Is housing unaffordable? We talk about this based upon affordability is, hey, it's not just how just prices and where they're at. It's also about where incomes are. It's also about where interest rates are. You got to factor all that in over time to see where affordability is at. And it's still not in a dire, unaffordable area right now. Summer transition, that was, we went into a summer market and we actually felt the transition. That's because we had more seasons, a seasonality to this year. Permanently parked. So this is the true turnover rate of properties in Southern California. People are permanently parked. They really are not moving like they used to. It used to say 5 to 7 years. Now CAR and NAR are saying once every 10, 11 years. But that's bunk. That's just based upon surveys. And surveys surveys are catching the young crowd that does it more often, like every 2 years they're moving. And it doesn't take into effect the people that will never move. They'll never be surveyed because they're going to not leave until they are need to move off to a home, that type of thing, and they will not be interviewed. So this thing is skewed towards lower. The true, for San Diego County, you can see it on here, the true turnover rate is once every 20 years. That is taking the total number of single family residents and condos and then looking at the number of closed sales through the county recorder's office. And that true turnover rate is once every 20 years. In LA, it's 28 years.
Did that change after Prop 19 at all? Did that change?
Oh, no. Prop 19, I knew when Prop 19 came around that it wasn't going to move the needle one iota. I mean, we'll see a few extra thousand sales across the state of California for the whole year, but that's not enough to move the needle at all. It's just a few hundred at the most per market. So it really doesn't change much of anything at all. So we have forbearances, foreclosures, facts. I'm all about facts, and everybody's talking about this wave of foreclosures. We'll get into what that's all about. Unhealthy pace, I talk about how it's unhealthy. I'll get into that in a second. The autumn calm, that's another change of a season. We'll talk about that. Buyers against the ropes. I encourage buyers to get back into the center ring because you know what? It makes mathematical sense to continue to pursue a house. And I explain that. Last call for 2021. This was the most recent one. This is, you were going to go to the holiday market, which is going to be in a couple, just a 4 weeks away. And that's 1 week prior to Thanksgiving. Yes. Thanksgiving is like 5 weeks away. It's like right around the corner. So based upon that, you need to get your property into escrow before we transition that, because that's when the market shifts completely. It even shifted last year. It will shift this year. So expect that to come. And then we have another report that's coming out on Monday. We crunched the numbers for it, and it's going to be about luxury. I have determined that I have not talked enough about luxury this year. This one's coming up. It's going to be luxury. So that'll be on Monday for LA and Orange County, and Tuesday evening on San Diego. So go to reports on housing. It's the plural of report. It's reports on housing.com, because I do more than one report. You click on subscribe, and we have a bunch of links. We send you the most recent one. So the last one, the highlighting that you don't have much time until the winter market, you'll get that email if you sign up today. And a lot of links at the bottom. This email has one for printing it out, copy, cut, edit, paste, Word, Excel spreadsheets, excerpts for social media, Facebook's blogs, all that stuff, charts, infographics, and social media posts. They're all in there. There's a ton of links at the bottom for you to utilize. I'd print out everything if it was me, and I'd bind it and I'd make it a part of my buyer and seller presentations. Comes out every 2 weeks, like I said. It's $15 per month or $150 per year. You get a month free if you sign up utilizing the coupon code NORTH. And that is just for you guys, NORTH. All right, let's get into the housing crash. Let's talk about this housing crash. Well, let's first go over me. I'm Stephen Thomas. I have a quantitative economics decision sciences major. I am the nerd in the room. I am a housing analyst. I get excited about what? Not football, not baseball, not sports. I get excited about charts, stats, and data. That is what I think about like all the time. It's pretty nutty. I can tell you how many stairs are in our house, and I can tell you how many stairs are in different buildings because I count stairs when I'm going up it. That's how nerdy I am. And I just love charts. I love crunching numbers and all that good stuff. This is a cockpit of an airplane. I don't know how to fly it. I'm sure none of you guys know how to fly it. That is because it's a cockpit of an airplane. It looks daunting, right? So I'm not going to pretend that I know how to get in that chair and fly an airplane. I can't do it. So I don't know why so many people get into my chair and pretend that they're housing analysts and do YouTube channels and all that good stuff on it, because my cockpit looks like this. I have a ton of charts and data and stats that I follow. It's an economic model that I follow, and that's my cockpit. So there's a lot of people that crawl into this cockpit and they put on a suit, and you know that they're just wearing shorts. Like I am, but just because they're wearing a suit doesn't make them. That doesn't mean that they understand economics. They might not have the economic background. A lot of the people that are on YouTube and TikTok and everybody else, they're really good at, they were really good at investments. And because they were good at investments, they think that they know everything that they need to know about economics, which they really don't. I've seen so many different YouTube videos, and they've been sent my direction, and it's just obnoxious to listen to. So there's a lot of social media misinformation as a result. And I'm asking you, I'm begging you, when this guy starts talking, please ignore him or her. And there are people that there's even an agent up in Stockton that has like 1 million views on why there was going to be a crash. Guess when she did that? She did it in February of this year about the housing crash. She was so wrong when she did it back then. And now, I don't know what she's going to say now. I've actually seen a couple of her videos, and they're quite negative. So, and she's not a housing analyst. So I wouldn't expect her to sit in my chair and be able to say exactly what's going on without looking at so many charts and data and stats and all that stuff. So what is going on with this housing crash theme that's out there? It's because home values are skyrocketing upwards. And the last time that happened was prior to the Great Recession. Actually did not just happen prior to the Great Recession. That Great Recession was this slow, methodical grind upwards where we were going at a very, very rapid pace for years. And if you look at that, that's on the left-hand side in the middle. It was a really strong climb, and it wasn't like recently. We haven't had it continuously. We did, if I show you this a little bit closer, 2012 to 2013. If you see this, 2012 was skyrocketing. 2013 started to skyrocket, and then interest rates rose. So we came off of those highs, and this is the Case-Shiller index. So we had property appreciation levels come down, not to below zero. It didn't become a buyer's market. It just slowed it down to about 5%. And if you look at this year, we were doing really good at the beginning of the year because the interest rates were starting to rise, and I was very happy. We got up 3.18%, almost 3.25% back in March, and then interest rates came back down. And as a result, gosh, we just have had skyrocketing values, and it is the highest national index for the Case-Shiller since they started tracking this thing in 1988, and has everything to do with these low interest rates and a very, very, very low supply of homes available. So everybody's fearful of a big giant crash. They still talk about crash. Why are they talking about crash? Because they will remember the Great Recession. But fundamentally, prior to the Great Recession and during the Great Recession, totally different makeup of the housing market and the housing stock and the way that we treated lending. And so there's a lot of people that are afraid that they're going to buy at the top because they remember the Great Recession. And boy, there's a lot of people that got hurt when they bought at the top. That just is not the case here. Instead, we have the purchase application index. If you look at this is a number of people putting in purchase applications, and the numbers were through the roof. And we had a credit crisis, right? There was a credit bubble prior to the Great Recession. And you could see that in how this was just skyrocketing prior to it falling apart. It really started falling apart in 2006, and then 2007 is when it really did totally fall apart. This is the numbers from 2014 on, and you can see it's just a methodical increase and rise as there have been more buyers in the marketplace. This is the way it should look when it's normal. Normal is boring. That the arrow on the left is a problem. That is a spike, and that was a bubble that fed the bubble. If you look at this is mortgage originations by credit score. On the left was prior to the Great Recession, where there was a mixed bag of credit scores. We had a lot of people getting loans that shouldn't really get loans, and they were putting no money down, and they were getting great interest rates, and it was just ridiculous. And then on the right-hand side, you could see that everybody has really strong, solid credit scores. The number with 760 plus is the vast majority of all of the borrowers in houses. So, and that has been going on since the end of the Great Recession. So really strong housing stock that we have presently today. So supply and demand, there was a problem prior to the Great Recession, and that was a supply glut. I could see it like a locomotive coming at us, that there was a problem. And you could see it. This is through California Association of Realtors detached unsold inventory. And if you look at this, in 2006, it moved from an unsold inventory of 6 months all the way to 10 months by the end of 2006. In 2007, it went just under 7 months all the way to 17 months of unsold inventory. And that is when we just stripped away values. Values just plummeted after that. Where are we today? We're way over here on the right-hand side where we have no inventory. And so we have a supply crisis versus a supply glut. That is the big difference. At the start of the Great Recession, this is what happened. Over 40% of all mortgages had less than 10% equity. 40% had less than 10% equity. How about this one? 28% of all mortgages were fully underwater. They were negative. They had no equity. So 28% had they had no equity and they were underwater. So forbearances, this is the beginning of this week. This comes out every week. It did a giant drop this last week. It went from 2.89% to 2.62%. And that brought it down to 1.3 million people that are currently in forbearance. And 4.3 million was in June of 2020. That was the height. 93% of those 1.3 million have 10% plus equity. That means that they have so much equity because values have been going up, even factoring in that they have been missing payments. 93% have 10% plus equity, which means that they can sell if they had to, if they still were in a pickle after they came out of forbearance. And there were 7.6 million people that took advantage of forbearance. We're down to 2.62% that are in forbearance. Remember, 28% of all mortgages during the Great Recession were underwater. That just shows you what a big difference, down to 2.62%, big difference. So 6 million people have exited forbearance. What happened to them? Well, 62% or 3.7 million are performing. Another 1.7 million or 28% paid off it, which meant they refinanced or sold their house, right? So that's 90% are either performing or paid off. Delinquent, but working with the workout unit, is 368,000, 6%. These are the people, there's a lot coming out of forbearance. When they first come out, they're initially delinquent. They work with the workout unit to say, you know what, I'm going to sell my house, or I want to refinance my house down the road. I need to pay it off. I want to delay it to the end of the month, defer it to the end of my mortgage, or I want to do payment plan. They're working with the workout units. There are only 4% or 232,000 that are truly delinquent. And this is where the new short sales and foreclosures are coming from across the United States. It's just a drop in the bucket even prior to the pandemic even starting. We just don't have that many foreclosures and short sales because of the mass amount of equity that people have with these with values increasing so rapidly. So there is no wave of foreclosures. I'm so sorry. It's just not happening. And as far as a bubble is concerned, or this crash, not going to happen. There's just nothing that I see in the charts or data. So at the end of the day, we're just unhealthy. And that means that, you know what, we really shouldn't be going up 20% in value and continuing to have such a limited number of supply with high demand because of low interest rates. It's just not healthy for us to go up this. I'm worried about my kids being able to afford a house. Matter of fact, I've been hearing that since I've been in the business since 1991. So, I mean, that seems to be what we constantly are saying over time because we just have these unhealthy spikes. And that's what I call them, an unhealthy spike. And this was not a bubble or a crash that's coming. It's just unhealthy. There was room for it to go up. It just went up way too fast. So where are rates headed? Well, that's the big question. And where were they as of yesterday? This thing's done every Thursday for 50 years, over 50 years, almost 51 years. And this is a primary mortgage market survey from Freddie Mac across the United States. It's at 3.05% across the United States. That's the average as of Thursday. The last week it was at 2.99%. So now it's bouncing around 3%. a few weeks ago, it was bouncing around 2.87%. So there was a bump up. But I do want to point out that prior to COVID-19, this is where we were. And then COVID-19 hit, we had the lockdowns. We had 17 record lows. The 17th happened on January, the first week of January at 2.65%. After that, we rose, and this is where we're at today. So I'll get into what happened. So this is the pandemic. You can see the pandemic, we came down and we went below 1% for the first time ever in the 10-year treasury. And why am I bringing up 10-year treasuries? Because the 10-year treasury is the appetite for investors. About 10 years is when things are paid off for all loans on average. So the appetite for the 10-year treasury is very much like the appetite for 30-year mortgages. So if you follow the 10-year treasury, when it goes up, 30 years goes up pretty much. Mortgages go up. When 10-year goes down, mortgages tend to go down as well. So that's why you watch this. And what happened in August of last year to March of this year, it just kept on improving and getting better and better until we got all the way up to almost 3.2%, almost 3.25%. And I was like going, yes, that'll slow down our market if it continues to go up. And then lo and behold, it went down. It went down, and then we were playing right around that 2.8% for such a long period of time. But let me blow this up. So it went for a while up, and then it went down, and now recently, several weeks ago, it started to go up. So we went from that 2.87% all the way up to 3%. Now we're bouncing around right around 3%. That's healthy. So we're going in a right direction. I wish it was higher. We're kind of stuck at 3%. That's normal. So I'll get into where I think interest rates are going to go in a minute. But Fed tapering, let's talk about it, because everybody's talking about Fed's going to be tapering. It's going to make interest rates go up. But let me tell you, it doesn't make it go up, because here's what happens when they actually do really start tapering. It doesn't really affect 30-year mortgages, and it doesn't really affect 10-year treasuries, because it didn't really affect the last time that they did this, because they did quantitative easing before, and then they did this taper where they tighten. And I'm going to point out a few different things really quick. This is directly from the Federal Reserve. I'm the geek that reads this stuff. So here's these three numbers. 100 billion, that's how much total they're doing in mortgage-backed securities. They're really talking about tapering only $40 billion, because they've committed to doing $40 billion new every single month. And they've been doing $40 billion new every single solitary month. And so when they're talking about tapering, they're going to talk about tapering that 40 down to zero. What they're still doing is another $60 billion every single month. How come they're doing another $60 billion? Because there's a lot of people that where they have all of these mortgages in their balance sheets, and all of a sudden people are refinancing or selling their homes, and then they're paying off their mortgages. Now they have this money again. So it's $60 billion a month where that's happening. What are they doing with that $60 billion a month? They're putting it right back into the system. So when they're talking about tapering, they're only tapering the 40. They're not doing anything with that $60 billion. They keep on reinvesting it. Now, after they did the taper, they started it last time in 2014. It took them a couple years later for them to start tapering that $60 billion where they reinvested anybody that sold their house or refinanced their property. So don't expect them. They're going to do this taper, but they're not really going to totally go down to zero until down the road, way down the road. So know that that's a slow, methodical process that they do. So it's not really going to affect interest rates with all this tapering. So don't worry about it. You have to be an economist to watch all these nitty gritty details. But what makes interest rates go up? Good COVID-19 news. Jobs, good jobs reports makes it go up. Stimulus packages, when they talk about stimulating the economy, that gets people thinking, uh-oh, it's going to overheat a little bit. Infrastructure, that'll make things go, the economy go even more. Inflation numbers. When inflation skyrockets, if it's not just transitory or temporary, it really causes a problem, and interest rates tend to go up, because you don't want your money stuck in long-term investments. You want to work with other things where your money does a lot better. The jobs recovery, we're about 5 million. This is just a couple months old. We're missing 5 million jobs from the start of the pandemic in February of 2020. But we had a lot more that were missing before. We're going to get these all back by the time we get to next year this time. So just know it's going to get better. Absolutely going to get better. So the US, oops, I don't know what happened there. Hang on. So the U.S. inflation gauge, the core CPI, that's the blue number, is double where it should be. It's at 4%. It should be at 2%. They don't like it being at 4%, but they are there are problems. And they're saying, is this transitory? Is it temporary? Some of it is, but the big disruptor right now is this. We have a real issue of the supply chain. That is the number one issue that is out there right now that is affecting inflation. And so we saw lumber go way up and way down. That was transitory. That was temporary. But we're having this big issue with transportation and getting goods from A to B. And nowhere is it worse than with this little chip. And that's not just the supply chain problem. That is where it's broken at where they're manufacturing it, because with COVID, we wanted all these new electronics and different things like that. So there was just this giant surge in demand, and factories were closed down. So all the stock of all the chips were depleted, and now they can't make them fast enough. As a result of that, new cars can't be built. And these chip companies don't even want to make these chips for them because they're an antiquated, older product, and they're cheap and they don't make a lot of money from them. So like Ford announced that they're going to be making their own chip, but that's a long-term solution. So we have a problem, not enough new cars. New car lots look like ghost towns. And part of the problem also is now everybody's going to used cars. Well, a lot of people are returning from the pandemic looking for used cars. They can't find them. And car rental agencies made it worse because they can't buy new cars. So they have to buy used cars. Car rental agencies got rid of all their fleets of cars, and now they want them back because travel is back, and they can't get them back because there's not enough new cars. So they went to the used car market. And as a result, car and truck rentals and used cars and trucks are a big chunk of the inflation. It costs a lot more to rent a car nowadays, and it costs a lot more to buy a used car, and it's a big chunk of inflation. It remains a big chunk of the inflation. And then we had the supply chain problem where there's a lot of boats that are sitting off of the harbor. This is Hong Kong. I couldn't get Long Beach because I couldn't get the rights to put pictures up of Long Beach. However, it just explains it. There's a problem. These boats are sitting out there waiting to unload their shipments. They're oftentimes waiting several weeks to unload their shipments. So if you have holiday gift ideas, you get them now because you might not get them. So my problem is with all this stickiness of the supply chain that prices are going up, that when this thing fixes itself, it's not going to go back down to where it was. That is a stickiness and not necessarily transitory. So there will be some inflation in the mix. And mortgage interest rates are just dropping like a rock, and they've been really low. And what causes them to go lower are these different variants of COVID, different problems with COVID. Internationally, when there's problems like what's happening in China, that kind of puts a lid on treasuries and mortgage rates. Volatility causes fear, which causes people to put their money in long-term assets, and 30-year mortgages go down. And then slow economic news also slows down the overall market, and then you get 30-year mortgages going down. So mortgages are they are gonna stay within this level of 2.75% to 3.5%. The only way we could get back down to 2.75% if there was a correction in the stock market, which could happen. I don't know, but we're gonna make our way towards 3.5% by next year, the middle of next year. When it's 2.75%, it's an insane seller's market. When it's 3.5%, it's still a seller's market, just no longer insane. So that's where there will be a shift, and sellers are going to be overpriced, and they're going to linger on the market until they price their properties right. So the housing market looks a little bit like this: insane. It's insanity, right? So insane is exactly where it's at. It's a supply and demand problem. It's really all about a very hot demand because of low interest rates, and very, very low supply because of this supply crisis, this inventory crisis that we have. So we have an inventory crisis. And for all those people that are talking about this economic cycle of housing turns once every 10 years, let me tell you that that's just not true. Anybody that's saying that it's once every 10 years, please Tell them where did they get this information from? And when you find out what that information is, please send it my direction, because in all of my years of doing economics, which dates all the way back to the 80s, I've never seen a 10-year economic cycle in housing. It doesn't exist. Instead, there is the seasonality real estate. We're experiencing this year. We experience it to a degree every single year except for last year, because last year was a COVID year. It goes like this: spring, summer, autumn, then holidays, and then winter. Winter is that time when everybody goes, hey, yeah, it's Super Bowl. Hey, this is the best time for everybody to place their homes on the market. If you're a home seller, you should place your home on the market now. It's so busy. And they're saying, hey, listen, it might not be snowing outside, but it's still the dead of winter. I'm not selling my home until the spring, because that's when we could take advantage of placing in the escrow and moving over the summer when the kids are out of school. They don't want to do it in February because the kids are in school. So that's why there are these seasons. It all has to do with when families like to move. So, and we're in the autumn season. This is the autumn market, and that's when kids go back to school. So not as many families want to play. And so inventory slowly drops typically, and the demand slowly drops typically over time from the start of the market, which is the end of August, till the second week of November. This is what happens. The inventory from start to finish is slowly dropping and demand slowly drops. And then we get into the holidays from mid-November to the first 2 weeks of January. And that's where inventory plunges to its depths, lowest levels of the year, and demand plunges as well. And there's not as many opportunities for them to purchase. So the San Diego County supply looks like this: active listing inventory. It is, you could see that, yes, we did go up, but we came back down. And this is so low compared to where we've ever been before. And this Himalaya is a joke. It doesn't look much like a hill at all, but here it is. This is as of yesterday. So October 14th, 2,620, down 2% or down 48 homes. Last year, we were at 3,976. It was the lowest level last year at this time that I had ever seen. And now it's even lower. Last year at this time, 52% more homes on the market. The peak was on August 5th of this year, 3,180. It's gone down 18% since. And the 3-year average is 7,334. We should be at 7,000 homes on the market, which is 168% higher, which is 2.5 times where we are today. We need more inventory. And this is where we typically peak. That's where we peaked this year. Where are we going to go from here? Just a little bit more down. And then come mid-November, boom, it goes down from there. So where are all the homes? Well, the San Diego County, compared to the 3-year average, the number of new for sale signs coming on the market, this last year, we were off 10%, missing 5,325 homes. This year, January to September, we're down 14%, missing 5,910 homes, even more than last year. We are really behind the 8 ball in San Diego more than any other Southern California county. And it has affected the number of escrows, and it has affected the number of closed sales. Like Orange County and LA actually had the highest number of closed sales since 2005. And you guys have the highest closed sales, I believe it's since 2016. And it's only because you placed fewer homes on the market. And it's not because of COVID-19, like so many people are saying. Really, when you ask homeowners why they don't want to move, it's this: where will I go? Where will I go? Even if I place my home on the market subject to finding a place, I don't even want to deal with that because there's nothing on the market. I don't want to have to wait a long period of time. This just isn't the time for me to sell. And that's really what people are saying. They're more than happy to sit back in their homes and watch their equity grow rather than participate in this housing market that is so crazy. So the San Diego County demand, that's the last 30 days worth of pending sales activities. The fuel to this are interest rates. Interest rates are fueling this, the low interest rates. And as a result of these low interest rates, we've had bidding wars. We've had so many bidding wars where the asking price is like the reserve price at an auction, a holiday auction. But instead of a trip to Cancun, these are houses that are being bid on. And everything as a result is selling for over asking. This is through CAR. They haven't released September. I think it's any moment now that they will. But August, 67.6% of all homes for the month closed sales for the month of August in California all price ranges, all homes sold for above their asking price. That's more than 2/3 of all homes. And in May, June, and July, it was above 70%. So it's coming down a little bit, which is good news. And hopefully it continues to go down, but it's not going to go down that much because it's going to start to go back up at the beginning of this of 2022. The median time on the market for August was 9 days. That's it, only 9 days on the market. And the sales to list price ratio for all of California is 102.8%. That's 2.8% above the asking price. That's on average across California for the month of August. So October 14th, demand. This is the last 30 days worth of new escrows. So I'm looking at the same metric over time. Yesterday, it was 3,107, down 1% or down 24 pending sales. Last year, 3,639. So yes, it was higher, but it's going to be higher for the rest of the year because we had a 4-month delay in our spring market last year. If you look at our spring market, that's that green line, it dove. There was hardly any escrows at the beginning of last year because we had COVID lockdowns during spring. So 17% more last year. 3-year average is 2,856. That's 8% less than where we are today. So even with a limited number of homes coming on the market, a limited supply, a supply crisis, right? We still are placing more in escrow right now. The peak was on June 10th, which is 3,584. It was very close to the end of May, and it was flat right there, but it was just a little bit higher because typically we peak at the end of May or mid-April to end of May. So like I said, this is where we typically peak. We peaked a little bit outside of this, and that's just because we were still placing lots into escrow even at the start of June. But it's come down since. We've come down, and it'll continue to go down for the next till mid-November, and then it will plunge at the end of the year. We'll do the fewest number of escrows for the month of December. That's what happens. We have the fewest number of homes come on the market in December out of all 12 months. November is the 11th lowest number, and then December is the lowest number. And it's also goes hand in hand with the number of opened escrows as well. So how fast is this market moving? On yesterday, 25-day expected market time. It's actually down another day. It's actually gone down days over time. And we're right now at the hottest market since June. And that's where we are in San Diego County. That's how hot that 25 days is. 25 days is ridiculous. I've never even really encountered these low days on market time before. So it's kind of weird to even talk about this far under 40 days. We got there for a minute in 2013. I thought that was ridiculous back then. And now we're dealing with these weird expected market times. Last year, the market time was at 33 days. That is, you place your home on the market. When are you going to open up escrow? At the 3-year average is 75 days. And the low was on April 1st at 19 days. We got into the teens. I thought 40 days was ridiculous. 19 is really ridiculous. The only San Bernardino Riverside got even lower than this. They got down to like 16-day expected market time, which is ridiculous. It's gone up 6 days since April 1st. So difference between 19 and 25 days is still nutty. And we're at a hot seller's market. And deep buyer's market, this is a speedometer. So the higher the number, the slower the market. So it kind of looks reversed. During the Great Recession, this thing got over 200 days. It was almost like a year at one point, which is going like 2 miles per hour. It would be way in the left. And then you go from a deep buyer's market, that's where values are dropping like a rock. Slight buyer's market, values aren't going up, but buyers get to call the shot. Balanced market, that's equilibrium. It's between 90 and 120 days. Slight seller's market, that's between 60 and 90 days. And that's where sellers get to call more of the shots, not a lot of appreciation. And hot seller's markets where we get appreciation. The lower you get, the more appreciation you get, and the hotter the market. And we are speeding out of control. And the expected market time is between 60 and 90 days. That's right there. That's the slight seller's market. That purple line was 2019. That's where we were for all of 2019, a slight seller's market. This year and since July of last year, actually since June of last year, we were below 40 days. And let me explain that. We're going to maintain where we're at, this 25 days for the rest of the year, right around there. And if I blow this up, below 40 days is insane. And that is where we've been behaving since June of last year at an insane level. It's just way too fast. And that's why we've had values just skyrocketing upwards. So the expected market time in North San Diego, your neck of the woods, Vista is at 26 days. Last year was at 23 days, the same time period. Oceanside's at 24 days. Last year was at 22 days. Encinitas is at 39 days. Last year was at 44 days. Cardiff by the Sea is at 18 days. Last year was at 39 days. San Marcos is at 19 days. Last year was at 20. Fallbrook is at 39 days. Last year was at 43. Valley Center is at 40 days. Last year was at 41. Escondido is at 22 days. Last year was at 29. Rancho Bernardo is at 18 days. Last year was at 17. And Poway's at 18 days. Last year was at 27. Holy smokes. It just shows you we are speeding, just a nutty market that we're encountering. And as a result of speeding, home values are skyrocketing. They continue to go up regardless of what you hear out there. We all know in the trenches that values are continuing to go up right now, just like they were earlier in the year, that things are going for above asking price and we're getting record values every single time that we place something new on the market. There is no end to this. I'm looking at all the charts and data and everything else out there. If I see a crack in the market, I'll call a crack in the market. I've done it many, many times before. But the problem is everybody on YouTube are calling cracks in the market that aren't really cracks. They're ugly. It's what I would call unhealthy, but I wouldn't call them actual cracks in the market. So when will the market slow? That's the big question. Well, when interest rates rise, I've already talked about that. And we actually did have this happen. The green line was 2013 and the red line was 2018. In 2013, we had interest rates that went from 3.25% all the way up to 4.5%. So as a result, things lingered on the market longer, especially the second half of the year. And we got this inventory that continued to rise all the way to Thanksgiving, not even peak normally like it does during the summer. And then it made a great 2014 because when you get extra inventory, the market time increases as well. Things linger on the market and the market slows down. That's also what happened in 2018 when interest rates went from 4% all the way up to 5%. And we got this slow, methodical slowdown, if you remember back to 2018. So as the inventory rises, so does the market time because of the rise in interest rates. I was hoping that's what was going to happen this year, but we didn't get it. Affordability is really where everybody should be talking. And what I'm talking about with affordability is mortgage rate sensitivity, where at 10% interest rates were back in the year 1990 when I got into the market, the interest rates were at 10%. We can't stomach that now. In the year 2000, they were 8%. We can't stomach that either. In prior to the Great Recession, it was at 6.35% at the beginning of in 2007. 6.35%. That's double where we are today. 5% is where we were in 2018. We can't even stomach that today. If we would have slowed down earlier this year, we would have been at a 4% interest rate being our mortgage rate sensitivity. But now that I'm doing the math, it's 3.75% now by the time I get to this end of this year. And I think we're going to increase another 8 to 10% next year. And as a result, the mortgage rate sensitivity is going to be 3.5% right where we're going to arrive at the middle of next year. And that will slow down our market because we're going to be at this level where people can't stomach those rates any longer. When they start looking at the data and they look at what their mortgage rates will be, they say, oh, that's really high. I don't want to do it. And look how expensive it is. I can't do it. So as a result, buyers, there won't be as many buyers in the marketplace, so that demand slows down and softens, inventory rises. That's where we'll be second half of next year. So buyers, let's get into it really fast because we have 5 more minutes of this thing left, and I'm going to be as good as I can at trying to get on time. They're frustrated. They're fatigued. But me, being the nerd, I'm here to tell you, do the math and find these pockets of opportunities. There are opportunities out there. I figured out this on the way to my son's soccer game that, hey, you know what? Homes don't sell instantly. Not all of them do. Excuse me. 38% of today, the homes on the market right now today, I did this morning, 1,007 homes have been on the market for over a month. And these are all different price ranges. That's what I found. 2 months plus is 21% or 546. 3 months plus is 12% or 325. But once you get above 2 months plus, it starts to get more luxurious, and 90 days plus is ultra luxury. So that's 325. Most of those are just ultra luxury. But I'm still here to say that if you've got a $2 million house, you shouldn't be on the market for 90 days plus. So that's a real issue. There's a cost in waiting, and a lot of buyers are looking back and say, boy, I should have purchased before. And they look back and they say, look at that $833,000 house was at 2.88% a year ago. And that was, here's the payment. Well, today, 20% appreciation, that $833,000 house became $1 million house. And at 3%, this is how much the payment is. It's $606 per month more, $7,200 more per year. And they're looking at it going forward, it's going to go up another 10%. So if we go up from $1 million, it's going to become $1.1 million. And if rates remain the same, which they're not, it's going to be $3,710, which is another $337 per month more every single month, or $4,000 a year if they wait a year. But if they wait a year, I really think we're going to have 3.5% interest rates. And then as a result, it's going to be $579 per month, or near $7,000 more by waiting another year. They need to move on this now. So, market overview, and we're going to forecast. Just know that there are millennials that are coming to market right now. It started last year. This year is even more. Next year and the year after that, it peaks and is even higher. It's the prime first-time homebuyer age is 32 years old, and that's where we're hitting these peak numbers we had never seen before. So the next 2 years, and actually another year beyond that. So it's 5 total years where we're getting this surge in first-time homebuyer activity. And Southern San Diego County closed sales, here we are. I just did the numbers because we can now do it because we're past the 10th. Down 9% month over month. You can't compare last year to this year because of the delayed spring means we had higher sales at the end of the year. So you can't compare it. Look at it compared to prior years. We're still surging compared to prior years. January to September of 2021, almost 31,000 closed sales, up 17% over last year. It's the most sales since 2016. And that's how it's going to be finish out the year, the most sales since 2016. And luxury is surging. This is it on the right-hand side. This is 1.25 million plus. Know that last year we had a record number of 1.25 million pluses. That was the green. This year it's the red. See that? We're just skyrocketing. And in September, we even beat August in San Diego, 636, up 25% over last year. You can see last year we were reaching record levels last year at this time. But still, we're doing 126 more than last year, which was a record for last year, was last September. And January to September at 5,354, it's almost double where we were last year, 2,547 more. It is a record level because last year was a record level year. True luxury is the top 10%. It was at 1.25 million at the start of this year. It's at $1.6 billion this year. So we've come up that much in value in luxury. So luxury right now, if you have a $1.4 million house, not really luxury. Close, no cigar. And you know that people are going, where are all these people coming from that are renting and buying? It's all these millennials that are leaving their roommates or leaving their mom and dads. They're getting married. They're going to have babies. They're doing what humans do. They're having families. They want to live on their own. So rents are going up, as well as they're a big part of first-time home buyers. And this will continue. Rents will continue to go up because the values are going up like they have been. So the 2022 forecast looks like this. I don't know quite what's right around the corner. My 2022 concerns are uncertainty. I'm not quite certain as to where things are going. COVID-19 variants. Yes, we could get more variants. We're right now finishing up Delta, and Mu is next. Hopefully it's wimpy like it looks like it's going to be, and we get past COVID-19. But I don't know. Rates remain low. That's a concern of mine. Washington, D.C., that's been a concern of mine since I've been an economist. Wages rise too fast. That's where I think we can see inflation right now, that there is a lot of pressure on wages because there are more jobs available than there are unemployed and people searching for work right now. More jobs available than there are people to fill them. That puts pressure on wages, which puts pressure on inflation. So that's really what my concern is. It's not even this supply chain problem. Buyer fatigue is a concern of mine. Values rise too fast, a concern of mine. Unrealistic sellers. If the market slows, we're going to have a lot of sellers getting way ahead of their skis, overpriced. You are going to need my report in order to let them know exactly what's really going on. My 2022 forecast is distress rises slightly, no wave. There will be more because we're going to go from zero. There's no foreclosures and short sales just about. It is as close to none as you can get. Normal housing seasons with slightly less activity than 2021. So that will be a normal, more normal market, but a little bit less activity. First half will be hot due to limited inventory, and second half slower with higher rates. Record low inventory to start the year, under 2,100 homes. So it'll be below this year. We had 2,500 homes. We're going to get below 2,100 at the start of this year. That is just a sickening low number. And all markets except for San Bernardino County will have fewer homes to start this year than the start of 22 versus the start of 2020. Rise in inventory eclipsing 5,000, not near our averages, but more than where we got this year. That'll be good. Demand, recent pending sales down slightly year over year, so we'll have a little less demand. That's with the rising rates and higher prices. Appreciation in 2021 up 8 to 10%. Luxuries continue to soar, but muted compared to 2021, especially as the year progresses. And then continued increase in move-up sellers, domino transactions. Closed sales down 3 to 6%, so they'll just be down slightly from the hotness of this year of 2021. Buyers motivated by low rates, but not as willing to stretch because of high values. And interest rates between 2.75% to 3.5%. I've talked about that before. It could be as low as 2.75% if there is a correction in the stock market, but it's going to make its way to 3.5%. So go to Reports on Housing. That's REPORTS, reportsonhousing.com. Click on subscribe. It's $15 per month or $150 per year. You get a month free if you use the coupon code NORTH for you guys. And I do have a housing debrief later on this today at 3 p.m. Reports on Housing at both Facebook.com and YouTube.com. I like to talk about one specific thing. I'm going to go into even more nitty-gritty detail of the foreclosure crisis that everybody is talking about. That isn't going to happen. And now I can open it up to questions and answers because that is all that I have. Let's see. Are there any questions out there? I made it as close as I could. 11:03 is pretty good.
It was a little tight. I do have to laugh because your economist in suits on TikTok and YouTube is like us watching real estate shows on TV where they show 3 houses, they pick one, they buy, they close, it all magically happens like really quickly. It's infuriating because it makes people believe that we don't do anything, which is always fun. Also, I thought it was interesting on your market thing. The heat of the market, it's if something's on for more than like 10 days, the buyers are like, hey, what's wrong with it?
Yeah. That's a real problem. How about if it falls out of escrow and then all of a sudden you have this house that looks like it's been lingering?
Yeah.
And that is a real issue. I've actually heard from agents that that's a problem. So when you fall out, and that's you have to do as much investigation as possible on that buyer because you don't want that thing to fall out.
100%. The other thing is, I thought that was interesting in some of your markets. Some of them bumped up a day or two and some of them bumped down. I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing in San Diego. So some areas that are really hot, but they actually have longer times. And now some other areas have shortened their I just thought that was interesting. Yeah,
which is why the report helps out because I actually detail it by city. Well, the city of San Diego is such a ridiculous joke. It's like the city of LA. It goes from like down Baja California all the way up to Canada, such a long city. So I actually take the city of San Diego and I chop out a whole bunch of areas.
We are a bunch of little collection of places.
Yeah. LA does it too.
One of the questions on the Q&A was, it looks like March will still be a good time to place a house on the market.
Yeah, absolutely. If I was a homeowner, I'd actually, and I'm trying to time a really good time before it like slows down and we kind of get to this like slow methodical grind of appreciation rather than the skyrocketing appreciation. Yeah. I'd wait. Mm-hmm. I'd wait until March. Yeah, I think that's the smartest bet because you're going to get this flood of there's still low inventory and there's still going to be buyers juiced by low interest rates. So that is going to be.
Unless you have to move. Yeah, I agree.
If you have to move, there are still plenty of people. And the argument is when you tell them, you can wait. people have their reasons why they want to still sell. Doesn't really matter. They have their reasons. So go ahead and do it. Or they have their own ideas of what's going to happen in the housing market. I really don't care what this housing analyst has to say.
Also, I had a question. Do you have a broker version of the reports on housing? So like a broker buys a thing and then they can disseminate it to their agents, kind of thing.
Yeah, I do. I have to talk to them. There's very few brokers. I have one broker that I'm working with. Across, I actually have a couple. I lie. I have a couple. I have discounted rates based upon the numbers of reports that you get for your agents, that type of thing.
Okay, so just call you.
Contact me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And if you're wondering how to contact me, it's Steven at reportsonhousing.com. STEVEN at reportsonhousing.com.
Perfect. Thank you. That was quick. You talk as fast as I do, and that's saying something. And you got it all in, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate your time, and you're just so dead on. I really like that. The specificity is really wonderful. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. Remember, you can use the coupon code NORTH for a free month. Thanks much.
Perfect. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Ciao.
Ciao, man.